Awesome. So let's talk about the associate perspective. And so the first thing as far as the associate perspective is, number one, is you want to make sure that you're getting really, really good at your follow-up calls. Because if you're giving people DVDs, if you're giving people websites, if you're giving people brochures, you want to make sure that you actually follow up with them, meaning that you want to pick up the phone and actually call them back. And so the number one thing that you want to do in a follow-up call is, number one, is you want to confirm the exposure. If you've given them a DVD, you want to make sure that they've taken a look at the DVD. If you've given them a brochure, you want to make sure that they've read the brochure. If you've given them a website, you want to make sure that they've actually taken a look at that website. And the first thing that you want to ask when you call them up is that, hey, were you able to take a look at that DVD? Hey, how did you like that DVD? Simple questions like that. And then what you're going to do is you're going to ask them one simple question. What did you like best? See, some people just ask, well, what did you like best? What I like to do is I like to ask, what did you like best? Did you like more the membership? Did you like more the business? Or did you like both? Because I like to give people options as to what I want their answers to be. And then whatever they say, if they like the membership, you're just going to agree with them and say, hey, I like the membership too. If they say that they like the business, well, hey, I like the business as well. If they say both, perfect. I like both as well. And so what you want to do next is you want to relate to what they liked, and whatever it is that they say that they like, just agree with what they say. You can also utilize what's called feel, felt, found. I've felt the same way. A lot of people feel that way as well, and what I've found is people love the membership also. And you can utilize that as an agreement with what they liked about the business or what they liked about the information that they had seen. And then the next thing that you want to do is you want to get really, really excited about being able to introduce them, to someone who's in your support team. And so this is the transition into the three-way call. So for myself, what I always like to say is that, you know what, I'm glad that you like the membership. Here's what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to actually introduce you to one of the people that's supporting me, one of my mentors in the business, just so that they can share their story with you, because their story is absolutely phenomenal. And I just say, hold on one second. And that's my transition into a three-way call. But if you want to get a little bit more intricate in it, what you want to do is you want to get really, really good at edification. So let me just share with you a couple things in regards to how to edify, because the more that you edify, the more that you say some good things about your expert on a three-way call, the more the expert is going to have the attention of your prospect, and your prospect is actually going to listen a lot more closely if you edify the expert properly. And so there are 5 different parts of edification. Number 1, you can edify somebody's success. This person is so successful. Number 2, you can actually edify that that person knows 100% of the facts and they know what they're talking about. That's the second thing. Another thing that you can edify is that this person loves to have fun. That's another thing you can edify. A fourth thing that you can edify is this person loves to help people. And then lastly, this is the number 1 thing that you always want to edify, is you want to edify the time of your expert. Because if I say something like, man, I'm not even sure if I can get a second of this person's time because they're so busy, hold on one second. Now my expert's time is so busy that they automatically have respect for my expert, and they're automatically going to listen, and they're automatically just going to wait online for me to get that expert on the line. And then lastly, another thing that you want to actually do with your experts in the transition is you always want to call your expert by Mr., Mrs., or Miss. You never want to call your expert by their first name. You always want to utilize their last name in regards to introducing that expert. And so next part of the perspective of an associate is the actual transition into a three-way call. So you have somebody on the phone now and they're waiting online, and you're going to call your expert. And at that point, we're transitioning into the three-way call. And when the expert picks up the phone, well, this is what you're going to say. You're going to ask if the expert is actually available or they have time right now for a three-way call. That's what you're going to ask them for. It's very, very simple. So you're going to say Mr. or Mrs., whatever their last name. Let's say Mr. Michael at this point. Hey, Mr. Michael, do you actually have time for a three-way call? You're going to ask them that simple question because you want to make sure that they know that this is a business call as opposed to just calling about something else. Hey, Mr. Michael, do you have a second for a three-way call? Oh, you do? Okay, perfect. Well, I have a person on the other line, and here's where you want to give information about your prospect to your expert. What you want to do is you want to give them information about that prospect. You want to give them their name, you want to give them your background, whatever tool you utilize. So Mr. Michael, I have John on the other line. He actually just saw the DVD. He has a background in psychology. And what I want to do right now is, and the last thing that you want to do is you want to give your expert a goal of what you want to happen. Can you share your story with him, maybe answer some questions, and invite him to the next business briefing? Can you invite him to a private business reception? Can you invite him to do a sit-down presentation with me? Can you invite him to sign up for the membership? And you want to give your expert the goal of what's next to happen. And then at that point, you want to link the three-way call, meaning that you want to link your prospect and you want to link your expert together. Remember, do not link the calls before you've given your expert what you want to accomplish in the call, because it's just going to be awkward. What you want to do is you want to link the calls after you've given them that information. And then when the call is linked up, and so this is ending the portion of the perspective of the associate, when the call is linked together, you simply want to do something very, very simple. The two calls are together, you have the expert and you also have the prospect on the line. Hey, Mr. Michael, can you hear me still? Okay, perfect. Hey, John, are you still on the line? Mr. Michael, this is John. John, this is Mr. Michael. Another thing that you might want to practice also is just saying, hey, John, I'm so excited. I was able to get a second of Mr. Michael's time. Let me link the two of you guys together. Mr. Michael, are you there? John, are you there? John, this is Mr. Michael. Mr. Michael, this is John. And they link up together and they can hear each other on the call. And guess what? Your job is now to mute your phone, and you want to take out your notepad and want to take out a pen and you want to start taking notes on what the expert is saying in the call so you can learn to be an expert as well. And then at the end of the call, what you want to do is you want to thank the expert for their time. And you want to just say, hey, thank you so much, Mr. Michael, for your time. I'm so excited that I was able to get a second of your time. And then the last thing that you want to do on the call, because you want to make it short and sweet, what you want to do at the end of the call is you want to make sure that you confirm the date and confirm the time of the next exposure, meaning that, okay, so I'll see you there on Tuesday at 7 p.m. All right, I'll see you at the private business reception this coming Sunday. Okay, I'll see you tomorrow at 12 noon at the Starbucks by the house, and we'll get you started with the membership, we'll get you started with the business, and then you want to hang up the call. Right then and there, do not talk anymore because your expert already did the work. Hang up the call, and then that's it. And so that's your responsibility, and that's what you want to do as an associate from the associate perspective of a three-way call. Now let's go ahead and talk about from the expert perspective, meaning that you're now an expert on the call, meaning that you have somebody on your team who's actually calling you and saying, hey, Mr. Cabardia, can you actually be an expert on a three-way call? And so what do? See, in the very beginning of my business, I kind of freaked out, didn't really know what to do. But what I found out is that the way that you actually learn to be an expert in a three-way call is by just being a person who actually puts more people on a three-way call. And that's how I learned. I took notes and I was able to really learn how to be an expert. And so let's talk a little bit about being an expert. So let's say you get a phone call and say, hey, Mr. Cabardia, are you available for a three-way call? What do you do now? Well, at this point, what you want to do is you want to get some information from that associate. Number one, you want to get the prospect's background. What is the background of your associate or the prospect that you have? The number two thing is you want to find out what tool they use. So you want to find out what tool did they use? Did they use a website? Did they use a DVD? How did they share the information with somebody? Was it a flip chart? And then lastly, you always, as an expert, you want to get the goal of that particular call. Does your associate want you to actually invite them to a business briefing? Does your associate want them to be invited to a private business reception, to a sit down or sign up on your website, whatever it might be? And remember, mentally, what you want to prepare yourself for is the three-way call. As an expert, you want to make sure that your call is no more than about 5 minutes. You want to keep it to less than 5 minutes, no more than 5 minutes, unless they start asking a lot of questions and things like that. But you want to keep it as concise as possible. And so after the call is linked, so now your associate is linking you with the prospect onto the call. And so now what your job is to do is to introduce yourself as the expert. So hi, hey John, how's it going? My name is Mike Cabardia. And at this point, you're going to say your first name as the expert because your prospect or your associate already introduced you by your last name. Now you want to introduce yourself and humble yourself on the call by saying your first name. Hey, how's it going, John? My name is Mike. How are you today? And then you want to introduce yourself. And the next thing that you want to do is you want to get count them, 3 yeses or 3 positive statements from that prospect. And there's psychology behind this, but number one, you want to ask them very, very simply, you want to confirm the tool. So hey, John was telling me that you were able to actually listen to a sizzle call right now. John was telling me that you were able to watch a DVD right now. John was telling me that he sat down and showed you a flip chart presentation. Is that correct? So number one, you want to get a positive statement by confirming the tool. Number two, what you want to do is you want to ask them if they saw the information correctly, or did they see everything okay? Did you like it? Or did you see it okay? Did you listen to it okay? Did you hear it okay? And you get a second positive statement, and they're going to say, of course I saw it okay. And then lastly, you're going to ask them the question, and this is the key question. What did you like best about what you saw? Did you like the membership more? Did you like the business? Or did you like both? and you're going to ask that question, and they're going to say a positive statement because you want to set the tone for the rest of the call. And after you get those 3 statements, all you're going to do is you're going to say, feel, felt, found. Hey, you know what? I felt the same way that you did. A lot of people feel that way as well. And here's what I found. What you're going to do is you're going to agree with whatever it is that they say in regards to what they liked about the information. And then the next thing is you're going to ask them maybe a few background questions. You know, at this point, I like to use form, family, occupation, recreation, and motivation. You know, I might ask about their family a little bit. I might ask about their background a little bit. Even though I might know what their background is, I'm just going to, you know, build a little bit of rapport with them for maybe about 30 seconds. So what do you do for a living, John? Okay, awesome. Are you married? Do you have kids? What is your background? Are you originally from San Diego? And then I'm going to utilize whatever it is that they say in my relation or me relating to them during the 3-way call. And then the next thing is you want to share your 30-second story with them. So John, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to share with you a little bit about what my experience has been over the last handful of years. And for those of you who are learning your 30-second story, just remember that your 30-second story has 3 parts to your 30-second story. You want to tell in your story what your background is. You want to tell them what was lacking in your life at that time. And number 3, you want to tell them what LegalShield actually means to you as a membership and what LegalShield means to you as a business right now. And so for myself, I'll kind of share with you mine. You know, when I first started, I had 3 jobs. I was working almost 80 hours a week. I didn't like what I was doing. I was looking for something else. I saw LegalShield as a way to be able to generate extra income and maybe step away from a couple of those jobs. And so what ended up happening is within 10 months, I actually stepped away from those jobs, started averaging over $4,000 a month. And now what this company means to me is that very, very soon, I'm going to be a stay-at-home father, I'm going to be a stay-at-home, or my wife is going to be a stay-at-home mother, and that's what LegalShield means to me. And that's a 30-second story. And then so right after you do your 30-second story, and the next part that you're going to go into, and this is wrapping up the 3-way call, is you're going to ask them or invite them to the next exposure. You can invite them to a business briefing, invite them to a sit down, invite them to a private business reception, and then the very, very last thing that you want to do is you want to re-edify the associate. So this is where your job as an expert, you want to make sure that your associate looks good. So, hey John, I know that you were introduced to the information from Todd, and Todd, you know, he's one of the top people that we're working with right now. I know that he just got started, but he's doing very, very well in the company, so you definitely could not be working with anyone better. So you as an expert, you want to re-edify, say some good things about that particular new person. And so with that, that's what your job is as an expert on a 3-way call.